I'm Tom. Today we are going to talk about confidence, but I do not want to give you the usual advice. I'm not going to say, believe in yourself. I'm not going to say, do not be afraid. I'm not going to tell you to stand in front of a mirror and say, my English is amazing. No, maybe those things help some people, but confidence is more practical than that. English confidence is not magic. It is not a special feeling that suddenly arrives one morning. It is not something that confident people are born with. Confidence is prediction. Your brain looks at your past experience and asks one question. What will probably happen if I speak English now? If your brain remembers confusion, silence, embarrassment, or difficult conversations, it may predict danger. It says, do not speak. You may make a mistake. You may not understand the answer. You may forget a word. But if your brain remembers small, successful moments, it makes a different prediction. It says, you have done this before. You can manage this again. You may make a mistake, but you can continue. This means confidence does not come first. Evidence comes first. Experience comes first. Confidence comes after evidence, after experience. This is the main idea of this episode. You do not need to feel confident before you speak. You need to give your brain small pieces of proof that you can speak. Okay, let's imagine two learners. The first learner is called Sarah. Sarah studies English for 1 hour every day. She reads grammar books. She watches lessons. She learns many new words. But she almost never speaks. Before every conversation, she thinks, I need to feel ready. She waits for confidence. The second learner is called David. David studies less grammar than Sarah. His vocabulary is small, but every day he does one small speaking action. He asks for coffee in English. He sends a short voice message. He answers one question in class. He speaks to himself for 1 minute while making dinner. David does not always feel confident. Sometimes he feels nervous. Sometimes he makes mistakes. But his brain is collecting evidence. After 1 month, David's brain has 30 small memories of speaking. Sarah's brain has a lot of knowledge, but very little speaking experience. So, who will probably feel more confident? Of course, David. Not because he is braver, not because he has a special personality. He simply has more proof. He has more evidence. He has more experience of speaking. So, this is the first important idea. Confidence grows from remembered action. Your brain needs memories of you using English. Thinking about speaking is not the same as speaking. Preparing to speak is not the same as speaking. Watching other people speak is not the same as speaking. Your brain needs to see you do it. Now, many learners make a serious mistake here. They think the speaking experience must be perfect. They think a successful conversation means no mistakes, no pauses, and complete understanding. That is not true. A successful conversation can include many problems. Maybe you forgot a word. Maybe you forget a word. Maybe you ask someone to repeat. Maybe your grammar is not perfect. Maybe you understand only 80%. The real question is not, was my English perfect? The real question is, did communication continue? If communication continued, you succeeded. Imagine you are in a shop. You want to ask where the changing rooms are. You begin, "Excuse me, where is the room for trying clothes?" The sentence is correct, but it is not natural. The shop assistant understands and says, "The changing rooms are over there." Did you fail? No. You had a goal. You communicated the goal. The other person understood, and you received the information. That is a successful speaking event. But many learners leave a conversation like this and only remember the mistake. They think, "I said room for trying clothes. That was terrible." They ignore the fact that the conversation actually worked. This teaches the brain the wrong lesson. The brain hears mistake equals failure. A better lesson is, the sentence was not perfect, but I solved the problem. That lesson creates confidence. After a conversation, do not ask only, "What did I say wrong?" Ask, "What did I manage to do?" Maybe you managed to start the conversation. Maybe you explained your idea. Maybe you asked for repetition. Maybe you found another word. Maybe you stayed in the conversation when you wanted to escape. These are real speaking skills. Confidence grows when you notice them. I call this keeping a proof file. A proof file is a small record of things you have already done in English. It's like a diary. You do not need a special notebook. You can keep it on your phone. Write short notes such as, "I asked a question in English today." "I explained a problem to a colleague." "I spoke for 2 minutes without preparing." "I did not understand, so I asked the person to repeat." "I forgot a word, but I explained it in another way." These notes may look small, but they are very important. On a difficult day, your feelings may say, "I cannot speak English." Your proof file says, that is not true. You spoke yesterday. Feelings change quickly. Evidence is more reliable. This is why confidence should not depend only on your mood. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel tired. Some days your English comes easily. On other days, simple words disappear from your mind. This happens to everyone. A tired brain is not a bad brain. One difficult conversation does not mean your English has become worse. It only means that conversation was difficult. Do not turn one moment into a story about your whole ability. Learners often say, I could not answer that question. My English is bad. That conclusion, my friend, is too large. A more accurate sentence is, I could not answer that question quickly today. This sentence is specific. Specific thinking protects confidence. Now compare these two ideas. My speaking is terrible. I find phone conversations difficult. Okay, let me say them again. My speaking is terrible. That's the first idea. The second one is, I find phone conversations difficult. The first idea attacks your whole English ability. The second idea identifies only one situation: phone conversations. That is useful because you can practice phone conversations. Here is another example. I have no confidence. That's the first idea. The second idea is, I feel nervous when I speak in meetings. Again, the second sentence is better. Maybe you speak comfortably with friends. Maybe you can order food easily. Maybe you can explain your job to one person. Your confidence is not one single thing. You may have confidence in one situation and not in another. I call this confidence by situation. You may have restaurant confidence. You may have classroom confidence. You may have travel confidence. But perhaps you do not yet have interview confidence. This is normal. Do not wait for one large feeling called English confidence. That is too general. Build confidence in small places. Choose one situation. Practice that situation. Collect evidence there. Then move to another one. For example, imagine you want to become more confident in small talk. Do not practice a general topic called speaking. Practice 3 common moments: starting a conversation, keeping the conversation going, and ending the conversation politely. For starting, you may practice, how has your day been? Have you been busy today? How do you know everyone here? For continuing, you may practice, really? What happened? How did you feel about that? What did you do next? For ending, you may practice, it was nice talking to you. I should let you get back to work. I'm going to get another drink, but I will see you later. Now the situation feels more predictable. Predictability helps confidence. The brain feels nervous when it does not know what may happen. A simple plan reduces that uncertainty. But there is another important part of confidence. You need recovery language. What do I mean by that? Recovery language is the English you use when something goes wrong. This is one of the most useful ideas in this episode. Many learners think confidence means never having a conversational problem. Real confidence means knowing what to do when there is a conversational problem. Imagine a good driver. A good driver does not believe the road will always be empty. The driver knows how to slow down, how to stop, how to turn, and how to respond to danger. Speaking confidence is similar. You do not need to know every single word. You need ways to recover. For example, if there is a conversational problem, you could say, "Sorry, could you say that again? Could you speak a little more slowly? I'm not sure I understood the last part. What does that word mean? Let me say that in a different way. I do not know the exact word, but it is something you use for. Give me a second. I know what I want to say." These sentences are not signs of weak English. They are tools for keeping communication alive. A learner with limited vocabulary and good recovery language can often communicate better than a learner with more vocabulary who becomes silent after one conversation problem. Let's imagine a conversation. Someone asks you, "What was the most challenging part of your new job?" You know the general meaning, but you're not sure about the word challenging. You could become silent. Or you could say, "Sorry, what do you mean by challenging?" The person says, "I mean, more difficult." Now you can answer. You did not fail. You controlled the conversation. That experience gives your brain useful evidence. It teaches your brain, when I do not understand, I have a plan. A plan reduces stress. It reduces fear. This is why recovery language creates confidence faster than memorizing another list of difficult words. Now, let's talk about preparation. Preparation is useful, but too much preparation can create a problem. Some learners write every sentence before a conversation. They practice it many times. Then the real person asks a different question. The learner becomes lost. This happens because the learner prepared a performance, not a conversation. A conversation is not a speech. You cannot control every sentence. You cannot control every single question. A better method is to prepare small pieces. Prepare one opening, prepare two questions, and prepare one way to end. Confidence often grows when you know how to begin and how to recover. You do not need to control the middle completely. Now, here is another new idea. Do not always practice at your maximum level. Many learners choose topics that are too difficult because they want to improve quickly. They try to discuss politics, economics, technology, or deep social problems. Then they struggle and feel that their English is not strong. But perhaps the topic is difficult even in their first language. To build confidence, you need more practice below your maximum level. Talk about something familiar. Describe your morning. Explain how to make a simple meal. Talk about a film you know well. Describe your neighborhood. Explain how you use your phone. When the topic is familiar, your brain has more space for speaking. Okay, thank you so much for listening to another episode of English Unleashed. I'm Calm, and remember, you do not need to feel confident before you speak. Speak in small, manageable moments and let confidence follow. Bye for now.